welcome to the Elemental Shaman, guys. And man, is this thing, it's playing really nice, and almost the same as what's on live, but it's got some huge gameplay changes that you can end up actually mixing in, and it feels really good. And it's got some insane burst damage in most situations if you want to play it slightly different than what's on live. But let's go ahead and take a look, and we'll start off with the abilities. So here we are, we're going to take a look at the abilities. Ancestral Guidance is back, but it's as a talent, and we will go over that in the talent section. Ancestral Spirit, it's your res, about the easiest way I can put it. Astral Recall, this is a secondary Hearthstone you've got on a 10-minute cooldown. Works exactly the same as a Hearthstone, takes you to the same Hearthstone location that you normally have set. That's all it is a Hearthstone. Astral Shift, now baked into the actual abilities themselves, no longer a talent. 1.5 minute cooldown, shift partially into the elemental planes, taking 40% less damage for 6 seconds. Cool. Bloodlust, if you don't know what Bloodlust is, we've got some issues here, guys. But it does increase haste of all party members by 30% for 40 seconds and puts on Sated. If you don't know what that is, again, we've got some issues. We're going to need to end up running into some raid testing with you. But this is your general cooldown as a shaman or mage. That was the other thing I was looking for. And then you've got Chain Lightning. Not a bad ability, guys. They did nerf it down a little bit. But what this is going to do is it's a fairly decent cast time. And it does very low nature damage. But it jumps to each target that's around. A total of 5 targets it can hit. Each one that it hits is going to give you 4 Maelstrom. So you can get 20 Maelstrom per cast at max. Now, it no longer reduces damage whenever it jumps. Really nice. Good to see this. But it is very weak right now. Once you get this thing improved during your artifact, this is going to start hitting like a truck, and we'll go over that here in a bit also. Cleanse Spirit removes all curses from friendly targets. Earth Elemental. A little bit different on this, and they kind of changed the tooltip, so I don't know if it's still there, but originally in the alpha, it was a 2-minute cooldown, calls forth a greater Earth Elemental to protect you and your allies for 15 seconds. It can still do the taunting mechanic, but it did say in the tooltip in Alpha that it did a 15% damage reduction to all allies also. Now the thing is, whenever I pull it out there, I don't get no buff, no debuff, nothing like that, and it doesn't have anything on it either, so I don't know if they removed that. But if that's the case still, somebody please mention it in the comments, because I'm not sure if they've completely revamped this thing or if it's still doing. If so, this is going to be an awesome raid cooldown. But I just don't see anything showing it anymore. And then you've got Earthshock. Works the same as on live, except instead of Maelstrom charges, you're going to be using Maelstrom itself. Instant. Again, it's going to do up to 117,000 nature damage based on Maelstrom spent. That's going to be at your peak of 100 Maelstrom, and this thing does some insane burst damage, especially if it crits and if you have your spell focus up, and we'll go over that later on too. But this is huge damage, guys. And then Earthquake Totem. Earthquake Totem works a little bit differently. What you're looking at, let's go ahead and build up some charges here. Get us some Maelstrom, maybe. Hold on, we're almost there. We're almost there. Alright, so it drops the totem, and then you end up having it, but it is a lot easier to use than what they currently have. It just does a base damage. You don't have to worry about empowering this thing to make it instant anymore. It's just an instant targeting reticle, and you don't have to worry about a lot of different things. Oh, there's focus. Again, it works out really nice, guys. So it's just something to play out there whenever you're doing AoE, and it does do some really good damage on 4+ mobs. Elemental Blast is a talent. We'll go over that later. Farsight, I think I've shown you this on the Restoration, but basically this is just going to allow you to change your viewpoint. See, there I am casting it way over there, and we're looking all around from the point that we ended up putting the targeting reticle. So that's all that is. The Fire Elemental calls forth a greater Fire Elemental to rain destruction on your enemies for 1 minute. Basically, you're going to toss this bad boy out whenever you're in combat, and he's instead of running up and casting, he just stands back and casts fireballs. Nothing too, or fire blast, sorry. But nothing too special out of him, but he does do some pretty good burst damage. Flame Shock is going to work the same to a point. Now again, with your shocks, one of the main things I do want to mention is they no longer have a cooldown. They don't have that 6-second shared cooldown, which is absolutely awesome. Because that sucked. You had to choose between your gameplay, and they're actually giving you a little bit more work with your shocks during this expansion. We'll go over that here in a bit also. But what Flame Shock's going to do, if you don't already know, it does a minimum amount of fire damage at the beginning, and then it does a good amount of ticking damage over 15 seconds. Maelstrom increases duration up to 100%. So if you put 20 Maelstrom into this, instead of it being 15 seconds, it'll be 30 seconds. Outstanding. Works great. Frost Shock works the same as on live, guys. This is going to do a very little amount of frost damage. And then movement speed is going to be reduced by 50% for 5 seconds. But Maelstrom can increase the damage and duration up to 100%. Really good. So 20 Maelstrom into this. It's going to increase the damage by 100% and the duration. So basically you're looking at 14,000 damage in 10 seconds in comparison with the chance to crit on these. And there is a huge damage play that goes into the spell. We'll go into that later. Ghost Wolf. Hey, look, I'm a puppy. Does the same stuff, guys. Increases your speed by 30%. And also you cannot go under 100% movement speed by other effects. Healing Surge, just a quick heal, guys. It's the same as on live. It's going to heal you for generalized amounts, and I do have a couple artifact abilities that actually increase how much healing this is doing. Hex, generalized CC, guys, turn them into a frog. Ice Fury, that's a talent. We'll go over that later. Lava Burst, and it's the same thing, guys. It looks a little different. It's kind of a cooler animation. Yeah, dunk, dunk. Yeah, just throwing some fireballs, nothing big. Lightning Bolt, same thing, different animation, different sound effect, quite an annoying sound effect, but it actually looks like you're using a lightning bolt instead of throwing a lightning ball. I do enjoy that. A lot of people have been like, oh, this thing's horrible, blah, blah, blah. Nuh-uh. This thing looks fucking awesome whenever you get enough mastery going on and you just look like you're pissing lightning out from your hands. Yeah, it's great. I don't know why people are disagreeing with this thing, but man, once you start getting this thing rolling, it looks like it's just giant chain of lightning between you and the target, and it's pretty awesome. Lightning Surge Totem's a talent. We'll go over that later. Purge works exactly the same as live. Removes one beneficial magic effect. Stormkeeper, this is your artifact. Now this has gone through a couple different revisions, and I think they finally got it to where they want it. Not as good as the way it was originally, but we'll go over what it is now. It's on a 1-minute cooldown. Yes, it is casted, and basically you're going to raise the Fist of Rot into the sky, absorb all nearby energy, causing your next 3 casts a lightning bolt or chain lightning to deal 200% increased damage. So this is you charging it, and then if you look, we'll go ahead and cast this. You've got the first one, 58,000, 58,000, third one, 58,000, and then we'll get the third one, 19,000. See where the huge damage change is there? It really nice, really good change, guys. It plays out well, especially if you're able to line this up with your increased damage modifier that you get from critting with spells. Good gameplay situation. We'll go into that once we start talking about gameplay. Thunderstorm still does the same thing. Call down a burst of lightning, and it's going to knock players or knock enemies back after doing a small amount of damage and reduce their movement speed by 40% for 5 seconds. So pretty decent. You can use this while you're stunned, so if something's got you stunned out and you're afraid you're gonna die, you can hit this thing, save your ass. Totem Mastery is a talent. Water Walking does exactly what it says, allows you to walk on water for 10 minutes, but if you take damage, you will no longer walk on water, you will drown. Wind Shear, basically it's going to be your interrupt, guys, 12-second cooldown. This is one of the better ranged interrupts, always has been, and it feels really, really good. Almost all your ranged are much higher cooldowns than what this one is. Elemental Focus, this is the part that I keep wanting to tell you about and how you can play this. But basically, your direct damage spell critical strikes increase the damage and healing of your next 2 spells by 10%. You want to play this in quite nicely, and the main thing that you want to look at here is, okay, this is going to give you 2, we'll go ahead and cast it off a little later, but basically this is going to give you 2 spells with 10% increased spell power. If you end up getting back-to-back Lava Surges, you don't want to end up casting Lava Surge again until you're at least at 1 of these charges. So try and fill something else in there, otherwise you're wasting a spell at 10%. But you can improve Lava Burst by that 10% on the next cast of it. So if you have 1 charge of this left over, then use your Lava Burst. But if you got 2, cast something else, get the benefit of that spell, and then go into the next Lava Burst. It just helps out a little bit of min-maxing on this spec, and it is enjoyable. And then you've got Elemental Fury. Passive, your damage critical strikes deal 250% damage instead of the usual 200%. Awesome ability. It makes crit to where it's beneficial, but I still don't think it's going to be higher than Haste Mastery because of the diminishing returns. And you already have Lava Burst that crits every time you cast it if you're using Flame Shock. So the diminishing return side of this, again, crit looks like it's going to be towards the bottom for Shaman, at least in Elemental. And then Lava Surge, passive, your Flame Shock damage over time has a 15% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Lava Burst, causing your next Lava Burst to be instant. Same as on live, guys, same as with the Restoration. You're going to just end up, maybe we can get it. There it is right away, and it just gives you another free one to end up casting. And Lava Burst sits like a truck, so it's really nice to end up seeing. And then, yet again, alright. And then you've got Mastery, Elemental Overload. I am so glad they brought this back to the Elemental Shaman. Actually, this, and this are all old things that they just brought back that made the spec a beast before, and then they just made him go away during WoD and brought him back for Legion. And I'm so glad that they are back. But Mastery, Elemental Overload, your Lightning Bolt, Elemental Blast, Ice Fury, Chain Lightning, and Lava Burst have a 47% chance to trigger a second cast on the same target for 75% normal damage, and Maelstrom Generation. Yeah, it's multi-strike, guys. You're better off knowing it as multi-strike if you just started in WoD. But this is way better. It gives it you got a refined feel for the Elemental Shaman. And come on, the Molten Fury stuff that they had, it was good, but it was so shit. It was so bad. It looked really cool, but that was about it. It didn't do that great of damage. Reincarnation allows you to resurrect yourself upon death with 20% health and mana. This effect can only occur once every 30 minutes. Yeah, it's the same as what's on live, guys, except I think it's got a different time limit. I think it's 20 minutes on live. I don't know. Haven't played live in a while, and usually when I do, I don't end up dying. So, but that's going to be it for the abilities, and we're going to look straight into the talents. Alright, so here we are. We're going to look at the talents. And level 15, this is kind of a weird situation, and it really depends on what you want to end up looking at. But Path of Flame, level 15, Lava Burst deals 5% more damage and causes Flame Shock to spread from the target to a nearby enemy. This is cool if you've got a slight cleaving situation. If you just want to end up making sure that Flame Shock always passively spreads, this is a good way to go. And with that, if you've got 2 to 3 targets, you're going to get more of your Lava Burst procs. You're going to get more of that, what is it, Lava Surge? Darn it. I just had it there too. Anyways, this is going to give you more procs, so you can get more Lava Bursts off, and you're going to get more of your focus casting, and it's just going to give you more damage in that situation. But single target, was it the best one? No, there was better. Earthen Rage, this one is kind of debatable. This is going to be your Molten Lava that you've got on WoD as your mastery. They brought it back. Repeatedly dealing an additional 5,000 damage to your most recently attacked target for 6 seconds. There wasn't nothing really interesting in it. It did an alright amount of damage, but it couldn't beat out what Totem Mastery was. Totem Mastery in almost every situation seemed to be better, just because it's going to summon 4 totems that increase your combat capabilities for 2 minutes, 30-second cooldown. It is a fire and forget for 2 minutes, basically. You do have some totem management left, but it's not as great as what it is on live. So what's it going to do? Resonance Totem generates 1 Maelstrom every 1 second. Storm Totem increases the chance for Lightning Bolt to trigger Elemental Overload by 10%, okay? Ember Totem increases Flame Shock damage over time by 20%, and Tailwind Totem increases your haste by 2%. Like I mentioned before, hey, if this is going to be like it has in the past, haste and mastery are going to have the edge over crit, even though crit does give you some additional damage. This is going to be the talent of choice, because not only are you getting haste in this, but you're also getting some mastery through your lightning bolt. It's really a nice piece, and it felt pretty damn good. Let's see, Gust of Wind, instant. Gust of Wind hurls you forward. This is a very basic, we'll show it to you, but who cares? It doesn't work that well. It's very slow, it's kind of boring, and it's really not that awesome, especially since they put it with these other two abilities. Ancestral Guidance, for one, okay. Why would you put this survivability cooldown in with your two movements? This one especially, because it's so slow, it doesn't work that great. Especially since you've got wolves and you can, or your ghost wolf, and you can just pop it and do about the same amount of distance in the same amount of time, and this is on a 15-second cooldown. I didn't see this thing to be interesting at all. Ancestral Guidance, though, raid cooldowns are the way to go, in my opinion. And basically 20% of the damage and healing is converted into, your damage and healing is converted into healing up to 3 nearby injured party or raid members. So 20% of your damage you do is healing people around you for the next 10 seconds, 2-minute cooldown. Works almost the same as on live. Works really nice, guys. I don't see why you would put this and this in the same tier. This is becoming useless, especially since Windrush Totem. 2-minute cooldown. Basically, this is Stampeding Roar for Shamans. You can click on this thing, and we'll pull it out. And I showed on the restoration side, but this is going to increase your speed, and we'll run out distance, and it's going to make us slow down and slow, and then back into it. So really, guys, that is going to be an awesome mobility piece for the entire raid, and these two are just going to almost always take the cake over what Gust of Wind will, unless there's some way of cheesing this and, you know, using it in certain dungeons to get over walls or something. I don't know. I really don't see a point in this piece, unfortunately, especially when you've got these other two, which are so much stronger. And then level 45, Lightning Surge Totem. Works the same as Capacitor Totem, except you actually have a targeting reticle. It doesn't seem to do that much, but when you throw it down and it stuns the whole entire group, it saves your tank's ass when he pulls too much. Really nice. Earth Grab Totem works the same as on live. What it's going to do is, basically it's going to root targets in place, and it's going to, just, if they end up breaking the roots, 50% movement speed reduction. It's the same as what's on live, guys. No difference. And again, this one stuns, if I didn't mention that. Voodoo Totem, on the other hand, this is cool as shit. And I enjoy this. This is all the same as a Restoration Shaman. So if you saw the Restoration Shaman, I'm kind of talking the same deal. This is going to allow you to throw out a totem, and it's going to CC anything that is a humanoid or beast. So it's going to hex them all for... It'll stay up there for 10 seconds, but it should be a 1-minute cooldown on their actual hex. And it's going to turn them all into frogs, and it's really neat. 30-second cooldown, and this is just going to help with certain chain pulls. Like if somebody pulls way too much, or if you see a large group that you need to CC all of them and you don't have enough CC, you can take this and you'll actually CC them all at one time instantly, instead of waiting for everyone to actually do their stuff. So Mythic Plus dungeons, the new challenge modes, this will probably be a very awesome piece to end up going with, so you can end up individually pulling them out one by one. And it may not seem like it's faster, but with everybody's damage basically being more or less single target focused, this might be a good way to go. Level 60, Elemental Blast. This thing is back to wrecking havoc and carnage. Harness the raw power of the elements, dealing 70,392 elemental damage, increasing your crit, strike, haste, or mastery by 686 for 10 seconds. The cool part about this is Elemental Blast has a chance to overload, to multi-strike. Now what it's going to do is it will actually apply 1 buff, 2 buffs, or if you happen to get lucky and get that third one, you can possibly get all 3 of them, depending on how well your overloading is and your mastery is. That's awesome because, hey, extra stats mean extra damage, and it plays in very nicely, guys. And even the crit strike, if you end up getting it, it's not that bad. It plays out very well, but you're looking and hoping for that haste mastery more than anything. Then you have Ancestral Swiftness. This is a tough one to go with, and it pairs very nicely with a lot of your abilities just because of that increased 10% haste and attack speed. Attack speed not so much, but getting that extra 10% haste constantly, that works out very nice. But it still doesn't beat out the damage that this can end up doing. And also this ends up giving you a little bit funner gameplay. Echo Elements, Lava Burst now has 2 charges, other effects that would reset its rating. More Lava Burst, that's all you're looking at with Echo of Elements, same thing as what's on live. It can play out alright if you get enough haste to where you're recharging. Haste is going to be very beneficial to this, as you're just going to be firing off more and more Lava Bursts. And your Flame Shock ticks are going to be ticking faster, giving you a lot of additional procs. Works out alright, but it's, again, Elemental Blast. This is back to the go-to ability compared to what it is currently in WoD. 75, Elemental Fusion. This just got a nerf, and I'm sad. But Flame Shock is a 5% increased chance to trigger Lava Surge. It was 10%. It still is the better of the 3, in my opinion. Unless you're looking at being a cooldown kind of person, this is going to give you more burst with Primal Elementalist, as to where this is more over time damage, a little more balanced, as where this is going to be bursty. And Primal Elementalist, it's passive. Your Earth, Fire, and Storm Elementals are drawn from Primal Elementals, 80% more powerful than regular Elementals, with an additional ability, and you gain direct control over them. So this is going to be like it is on live, except they do hit incredibly harder than what your normal ones would end up doing. So it does make it to where if you need those burst windows with your cooldowns, again, you're looking at your Fire Elemental is a 5-minute cooldown. So that's something to think about, because that burst window, this is not going to last long. Yes, your Fire Elemental lasts 1 minute. But this really just, it sucks the life out of, you really got to time this in the proper area with your Bloodlust cooldowns to get the most benefit out of this, as where Elemental Fusion is going to pad out your damage over a longer course of time. And the Magnitude's all AoE. When an enemy with your Flame Shock takes damage from Earthquake, gouts of magma will erupt at their feet, dealing additional damage. So it just, basically, it makes it to where... we'll take it real quick and we'll build it up, and I'll show you. You can kind of see it. It's kind of a neat little effect. Longest part about this is getting that initial build. Alright, let's get one more up. Okay, so there you can see it, and then you can just kind of see where the magma is coming up, and it does some additional ticking damage. Nothing that great, guys, but it looks kind of cool, and it's great for heavier AoE situations, especially if you mix it with Path of Flame, and everything's getting your Flame Shock put onto it just by attacking a single target. That helps out a ton. And then we're going on to level 90. You've got Lightning Rod. Lightning Rod's pretty cool, but it is it's an interesting chance item. And basically, your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning have a 10% chance to make your target a Lightning Rod for 10 seconds. When you deal damage with Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning, they additionally deal 20% of their damage to all Lightning Rods. So, easiest way I can put this is another AoE situation. It's going to build up AoE, and then Chain Lightning is going to be the best way for applying. And this is just going to blow up and make them continue to blow up and continue to blow up. And it really just, it's AoE. That's the only way I can describe it. It is an AoE situation. Because the way that most of this plays out, you don't usually end up using Lightning Bolt, except for maybe very little cast throughout a dungeon boss fight. Raid boss will probably be the same, because longer fight, more cooldowns, it's going to change, and it just doesn't seem to fit. And then you've got Storm Elemental. It replaces a Fire Elemental, 5-minute cooldown, calls forth a greater Storm Elemental to hurl gusts of wind. It's the same thing as what you're used to, guys. We'll pop it out. Doobie doobie doo. Here's a Storm Elemental. And he looks the same, and he just... Again, he's going to stand back and he's going to cast crap. Nothing too big. Aftershock, to me, was the best single target way to go. Where this is, you know, like your burst area. And then you've got Aftershock. It's passive. Your spells refund 25% of all Maelstrom spent on them. So if you use Earthshock at 100 Maelstrom, like I'm going to... Okay, well, it used it all because I don't have it. But normally you would have 25 left because 25% would be left over. So it does end up helping quite a bit on the Maelstrom generation. Helps out a ton, really. So you're looking at that. And then you've also got... it just seems to play better getting the additional Maelstrom, guys. Less time of actually casting Lightning Bolt and more time of actually doing something significant with damage. And then level 100, Ascendance, instant. Again, this goes with the bursting period. It's going to work the same as on live. 15 seconds replaces Chain Lightning with Lava Beam and removes the cooldown on Lava Burst, increasing the damage of Lava Burst equal to the amount of your crit strike. So Lava Burst hits like a fucking truck during this. It's alright, but again, for burst periods, if you're wanting to go anything longer than a 2-minute, you know, 2-minute fight, like, it's really not that great. 3-minute fight, or 3-minute, if you're hitting it like just before 2 minutes or just before 3 minutes, it's not worth it. If you're going a little bit longer, you can end up getting at least another burst window. It works okay. But Ice Fury, this thing is fucking sick. Pardon my French, but this thing is sick. And it does have a cast time on it. And what you're looking at, let me pull up, or I can't because the talent's cooldown. But Ice Fury, what it's going to do, 1.71 second cast, hurls frigid ice at the target, dealing 21,119 frost damage and causing your next 4 shocks to deal 400% increased damage. 4 frost shocks doing 400% increased damage, and then if you've got 20 Maelstrom, you're looking at doing an insane amount of damage off of that too. So let me build this up. And it also generates 24 Maelstrom, so you don't want to use this when you're close to capped out. But about 50 Maelstrom, you're going to want to cast this thing, and it's going to pop you up. Now watch the damage come off. 70k, 176, 77, 193. So it does some sick damage. And then if you put that with, if you weave in Elemental Focus, and you, if you're able to weave it in, that's going to be an additional 10% on top of this. And it just hits like a truck. Frost Shock. Who never knew that you would use that in a PvE situation again that wasn't just for kiting? Really good damage, guys, and it actually will top your meters. It'll end up being the top of your damage, and it is a very good, consistent damage every 30 seconds. The nice part about it, too, is the buff that you end up getting actually lasts like 20 seconds, so you don't have to use all 4 of them right away. You can actually build a gameplay style to where if you're looking at building up those focus marks, this thing's still counting down its cooldown, but you're able to weave them in and get the best benefit out of these frost shocks and to do some insane amount of damage. Or you can just burst it and cast them all at the same time. But I would definitely make sure that you have at least 20 Maelstrom before you cast any of your frost shocks. But it's a great gameplay changer, and we'll get into that once we start talking more about gameplay. And then Liquid Magma Totem, AoE. Summons a totem at the target location for 15 seconds that hurls liquid magma at a random nearby enemy. This does the same thing as on live, guys, and it's very, well, here, let me throw it out here. Take a look, and it's just going to gout fire. That's all it does. It doesn't do nothing special at all. So, again, it's really situational. If you really need to be an AoE monster, you can respec to be an AoE monster if that's where you're needed, but you can also be a very high single target monster. And with this, guys, we are going to switch it on over to the artifact. Boom, here it is, the artifact, and we're gonna look at some skins first, guys. This is your original piece. It's okay. Being a main Elemental Shaman, I really it's alright. The fist weapon looks okay. The shield is, I don't know. It's not the greatest. But yeah, you kind of got the little effect going around. You do have a couple different options of where you can go with this. So it's it's not too bad. And then you're going to have the Stormkeeper. Stormkeeper's a bit better. We'll let it spin around a bit, but let's go ahead and click it there. And really, this thing, it's okay. I don't enjoy it 100%, and it kind of makes me sad. I wish I may end up transmogging the fist weapon and the shield, unfortunately. But it's going to fit some people's taste. Now, as it spins around, you'll see that the shield doesn't change much from the original, except it gets a wider wind path. Woohoo! And then the fist weapon gets a little bit beefier also. And then you got Earthspeaker. Now, this one's kind of neat. I do enjoy this one a bit, but it's still, again, we'll wait for it to spin around. It's not the greatest. There's so many better fist weapon models out there. My favorite being the one from Mount Hyjal. I can't think of the name of it right now, but that is just, it's ungodly. It's pretty awesome looking, and that is a spectacular piece. If they would have had something that came out looking a little more like that one, it would have been way better, to where it came halfway up the arm instead of just sitting up there. And this is Earthspeaker, guys, and this one looks okay. You've got the fire that's coming off of it. That set looks really good. But the rest of it, and then your PvP set. Your PvP set makes you look like a bug. I wish they did something with the shield. I enjoy the larger shields. This is just, they took a very small deal and added a real big animation to it. And that's all there is to it. We'll let it spin around so you can get another look at the other sections. But it really just, unfortunately, this is not a favorite piece of mine, and I probably will be transmogging. But the PvP sets, they're okay. I mean, it's an awfully big fist weapon. It looks like, I don't know, it looks good. I mean, that one looks alright. But the rest of them, it's just unfortunate. It is really unfortunate. And I was really looking forward to the fist weapon shield, but if they would make the shield a little bit bigger, I'd probably be a little more excited. But this little tiny shield just doesn't fit anything, unfortunately. But with that, guys, you get a look at the skins, and we're going to move on to the actual traits. Alright, so here we are. We're looking at the traits. Obviously, Stormkeeper, we're going to start here. This is your activated ability, 1 minute cooldown, and it makes your next 3 casts of lightning bolt or chain lightning deal 200% increased damage. It works out alright. It's kind of a clunky feel whenever you gotta use it, but there are certain situations where you just want to keep this off cooldown, and it's usually the only time that you're going to end up casting lightning bolt. You've got other abilities that seem to play out much better than what lightning bolt would. It works really good in chain lightning situation, but we're going to move on to Surge of Power, first thing when you get it, and Lightning Bolt deals an additional 10% damage. Alright. Firestorm, 3 of 3, it's usually 10, 20, and 30%, increases damage dealt by Flame Shock by 10, 20, or 30%. I've got it capped out, so 30. Elementalist, each time you cast Lava Burst, the remaining cooldown on your Storm Elemental is reduced by 3%. This is going to be Storm or Fire Elemental, guys, but not 3%, 3 seconds. It's not bad. If you're getting a lot of procs, it'll end up bringing it down, but you usually still won't use it more than, at least in a 5-man dungeon, you probably won't use it more than once anyways. And then you've got Protection of the Elements. Normally this would be 15, 30, and 45% increased healing for Healing Surge. Excuse me. Static Overload, rank 0-1. This one's pretty cool. Chain Lightning has a 10% chance to cause Elemental Overload to trigger on every target. So basically, if you cast Chain Lightning, every target it hits, it's going to have a chance to cast Elemental Overload. Alright? It's going to basically overload on everything, and you're literally going to look like Raiden from Mortal Kombat just pushing lightning out. We'll skip down here real quick. Electric Discharge, 0 of 3. Increased damage dealt by Chain Lightning by 5, 10, or 15%. Master of the Elements, 0-1. Increased damage dealt by Elemental Overload by 10%. Cool. Shamanistic Healing, 0-3. Passive. When your health drops below 35%, Fist of Ra-Dan heals you for a pretty good chunk. But it can only happen once every 30 seconds. Now, I'm guessing this 0 of 3 is going to increase this amount to where it goes from like 48 to 96 and so on and so forth. to where it gives you a better amount of healing. Unfortunately, I have not tested this, so I'm not 100% sure. Molten Blast 0-3 passive increases critical strike damage dealt by lava burst by 3%. So this is basically going to be 3, 6, or 9, or maybe even 10, the way they're kind of crazy with their artifacts goes. To where this will actually do increased damage on lava burst. Now, lava burst should almost always be a critical strike anyways, so it's just increased damage. And then our first golden dragon is Power of the Maelstrom. When you cast Lava Burst, you have a chance to supercharge a Fist of Radain, causing your next 3 lightning bolts to trigger Elemental Overload an additional time. So, from what I get from this, you're going to throw, if you get this proc, you're basically going to be able to cast Lightning Bolt, and it's going to automatically cast Elemental Overload. Really cool, kind of nice. It's going to pair up very nicely if you end up getting this with your Stormkeeper. So if you get this proc, more than likely you're going to want to throw out Stormkeeper and then cast your Lightning Bolts. Just a thought of the gameplay to help adjust it, but again, hard telling until it actually comes live and we get to play around with it at max level. I'll be working on it more, but with the rest of the characters, I'm going to have to backburner it for just a little bit. And then we've got the Ground Trembles 0-3 increased damage dealt by Earthquake Totem by 5, 10, or 15%. Earthen Attunement 0-3 increases damage dealt by Earthshock by 5, 10, or 15%. That's really good damage increase. And then we've got Volcanic Inferno. Lava Burst has a chance to open a volcanic fissure under your target, dealing 42,264 fire damage over 6 seconds to all enemies within 3 yards of the target. So, basically, if you're single targeting, if you end up taking that tier 15 talent that spreads your flame shock and you're getting a lot of lava bursts, this is just going to help you in that cleave situation to where you can still focus the target and do some pretty decent AoE. Fury of the Storms, passive, activating Stormkeeper summons a powerful lightning elemental to fight by your side for 8 seconds. Right on, okay. So just basically, whenever you end up using your artifact ability for increased damage, this is going to give you some extra damage over 8 seconds. Call the Thunder, passive, increase nature damage you deal by 1, 2, or 3%. That works out alright. The main thing that you want to realize is your nature damage, it's going to be Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning. That's it. Earthshock. Those are your nature damage abilities. Frost damage comes from your Frost Shock, fire damage from Flame Shock and Lava Burst. So you've got 3 abilities that are going to be affected by this. Is it bad? No. Is it great? I don't see it being that awesome because, again, you've got other things that do way more damage. It'll help balance it out. How's that? Lava Imbued. Normally 1 of 3, increases damage dealt by Lava Burst by 3, 6, and 9%. But I do have it imbued with a relic. And then we already did Shamanistic Healing. So there you have it. That's going to be all the abilities. And you can see there is a Storm Relic, there is a Frost Relic, and yet another Storm Relic. So, here you have it, guys. This is the artifact. Now let's go into what everybody wants to see, the gameplay. So we're here to talk about the elemental gameplay. And the thing that's working out really nice with this spec is the fact that where you're used to actually spamming Lightning Bolt a bit more, you're not going to be doing that as much. This does very well in both AoE and single target rotations, no matter how you spec. But it does very interesting amounts of excess damage. Now, single target, the way I was playing this, I was actually running Ice Fury. And the reason for this is because Ice Fury increasing that Frost Shock damage, one, it gave it a way better gameplay than what you're used to. Extremely fun, something to look forward to. Instead of casting the same basic rotation, going blah blah blah, okay, I'm doing damage, whatever, yeah, this actually gave you something to look forward to. So, what would I do? Let's go into a boss fight situation. Starting this off, what are you looking at doing? Okay, main rotation's going to tell you you want to get Flame Shock up. You want to always keep Flame Shock up. But let's say opener-wise. Well, let's open up with dropping your totems. I did go Totem Mastery. So you're going to want to drop your totems because that's going to increase your Maelstrom generation. And 1 Maelstrom per second doesn't seem like a lot, but hey, that's a good amount of generation. Then you've got a 10% increased chance to overload on Lightning Bolt, and guys, it's a 30-second cooldown, but it lasts 2 minutes. It's a fire and forget, and it's huge damage increase. And that's the main thing to consider. Ember Totem's going to increase your Flame Shock damage for 20%, and then you also get 2% increased haste. Just remember this, and it's got a huge range on it. It's a 40 range. Drop this thing, enjoy yourself, just go about your business. It's better than the other two for a single target. But opening wise, drop your totems, drop your fire elemental. Your fire elemental is going to be good damage, unless you have a burst period that you know you're going to want it for. Lust if you need a lust on it. Basically you're going to want to time your fire elemental with your lust anyways, just to end up keeping that up. So if you're using your lust right off the bat, you're going to lust, you're going to end up dropping your fire elemental, you're going to want to drop your totems. It's going to end up, get your buffs out of the uncontrolled buffs out of the way, and then what you're going to want to do is open up with Elemental Blast, get that increased damage right off the bat, toss a Flame Shock, a Lava Burst, and then a Lightning Bolt. Build up to about 50 Maelstrom, and then once you build up to that 50 Maelstrom, cast off Ice Fury. And then you're going to want to start weaving in your Frost Shocks, more than likely with your Focus Casting. And the Focus Casting is going to be the 10% buff you get from critting. Lava Burst is your best way to control this ability. And the reason why you're wanting to do that's an additional 10% damage. Frost Shock hits like a fucking truck. A big truck whenever you've got this. And it's going to probably cause a lot of problems. Not only in the PvE world because of how hard it hits, but it's also going to cause a lot of problems in the PvP world because 1, it's Frost Shock and it's slowing these people. 2, it's instant, and 3, it will rail. I mean, it just rails. It hits so damn hard. If you crit with it, I've had it crit to where it hit for almost 270k when fully buffed and full stacks, and it's just absolutely insane out of an instant cast ability. So you can only do the Ice Fury every 30 seconds though, guys. That's the main consideration. You can only do it every 30 seconds. So the next time you build up, you're going to want to build up until you almost cap your Maelstrom and then use Earth Shock to balance it out. And if you do end up getting to a point to where Ice Fury is coming off cooldown and you are 80 plus on your Maelstrom, do not cast Ice Fury. Do another Earth Shock, especially if you're running where you've got retain some of your Maelstrom. You're going to want to do Earth Shock first and then build back up to 50 and then cast Ice Fury because you don't want to ever overcap your Maelstrom. That's the main thing. It's another balance piece. It's really improved how much fun this spec can turn out to be, and I am enjoying it. Being a main Elemental Shaman, I am extremely happy for the changes on this thing. And I know a while back I talked about possibly maining Enhancement, but I think I'm going to stick with Elemental just because of the change, the way Ice Fury plays in, being able to go through and do this kind of damage, and still have a fun, enjoyable, non-boring rotation. You can make it to where it's like it is on live, to where you're just doing the same basic 3 to 4 button, or 4 to 5 button, I should say, rotation that you're used to. But that's not cool, man. This other new rotation, if you look at the way it's played out, it plays out very nice. So, that being said about single target, we're going to blow that one off. Just remember, you're looking at keeping Flame Shock up, Lava Burst on cooldown, unless it's a proc, and then you want to kind of fidget it a little bit to where if you've got Focus Casting from getting that crit off a Lava Burst, you don't want to automatically cast it again. You want to bring it down to 1 cast of Focus Casting before you hit that next Lava Burst, just so you get the full benefit out of Focus Casting. If not, you're going to lose that 10% on a spell that you could have used somewhere else. Earth Shock, anything. Something's going to be better depending on how you're sitting with Maelstrom. Something is going to be better to end up spending that 10% on instead of completely losing it. Just remember that. But again, keep Flame Shock up, Lava Burst up, maintain your Focus Casting, keep Elemental Blast on cooldown if you spec into it. Ice Fury, use it at about 50 Maelstrom, and then you can end up getting the most benefit out of your Frost Shocks. And you can see, where is Lightning Bolt in this? Well, Lightning Bolt comes a little bit after that, and you will end up casting it, but not as much. And I'll show you this in the actual logs once we end up getting to them that Lightning Bolt is very low on the cast bar, but it still works out well. Earth Shock, whenever you cap out Maelstrom, you definitely want to end up using it, especially if Ice Fury is on cooldown, but you don't want to end up using Ice Fury when capped. There's a lot to play with, guys, and we will get into this a little more in depth later on the gameplay, but this is just a basic. This is not a full guide. This can still end up changing, and I don't want to get hardcore into the theory crafting until I know this is set in stone. But AoE hasn't changed much, guys. If you spec for it, it's going to be killer. If you didn't, most of it's going to be a single target rotation, but instead of casting, if you've got 3 or more targets, instead of casting Lightning Bolt, in fact 2 or more targets, instead of casting Lightning Bolt, you'll throw in Chain Lightning instead, because it's just going to, it's going to generate the same amount of Maelstrom as it would with Lightning Bolt casting single target on 2 targets. 3 targets, it's going to be doing more, and it's also going to do more damage. Chain Lightning does 14,000 nature damage and then jumps to a nearby enemy, so you're looking at 28,000, and then you're looking at 19,000 off a Lightning Bolt, so it does do more. 2 or more targets, swap out Lightning Bolt for Chain Lightning. Other than that, there's really not much of a difference in how you would play this thing. And if you've got, I would say, 3+ targets at 50 Maelstrom, go ahead and use Earthquake Totem. But less than that, I would stick to just a single target rotation, cleaving off with Lightning Bolt. But that's going to cut it for us here, guys, on the actual gameplay. There is so much you can end up doing with this, and so much to end up playing with. You still got some pretty good, solid defensives. We went over those in the abilities. But let's go ahead and move on to the logs and see actually where the damage is coming from. Alright guys, so here's the logs, and this is Dargul the Underking, which is the last boss in Neltharion's Lair. And the main thing you want to end up looking at is Frost Shock is top damage, 17 hits, average hit is 76,000. If we look at it, your critical hit for 174,000, and yeah, that's huge amount of damage, guys. Normally it would only be 76,000 was the highest, average 70,000, 174,000. Huge damage. It only crit once though, or 5.9%, which I think it was just one crit that we got off of there, obviously, because 174.8 average was 174.8, so we only got one crit on there. If we would have gotten more, it would have been even higher on. But again, like I said, Haste Mastery seems to be the better benefit. Lava Burst, insane, absolutely insane. This is always going to crit unless you don't have a Flame Shock up, which I did end up doing one cast without it. Boo me, I screwed myself on that, lost out some damage. But 17 hits, this is going to be second. Flame Shock, not bad. And I chose this because this is one of the only fights that we had that was over 2 minutes, or right around the 2-minute mark. I'll show you Rockmora, but he didn't last long. Earth Shock hits pretty well. As you can see, average hit, it's going to be right, the critical strike, 250,000. Hits like a damn truck also. Really good damage all the way through, guys. Elemental Blast hits really well also, but the main thing you're looking for with this is not the damage, but you're looking at the procs that you get from it to help with everything else. Lightning Bolt, like I said, you really aren't casting Lightning Bolt too often. 19 casts is all I ended up having. Normally on live, that would be in a 2-minute fight, if it can get one that lasts 2 minutes with gear and everything up. Normally that would be a lot higher, but because you've got so much extra to end up filling in, Lightning Bolt is way down. Fire Blast, this is going to be from your Elemental. The Elemental does some good damage, but this will drop further and further because it is on a 5-minute cooldown. This will drop a lot more. Lava Burst Overload, as you can see, it only overloaded 7 times. 9 times out of Lightning Bolts. So I do need to work on it because I think I've only got about 50% and I want it to be higher. And then you get a little more haste and you get more Lava Burst, more Flame Shot. But this is going to be ran off the spec that I showed you originally of what I was running with the Totem Mastery, Ice Fury, and it works out really good. Ice Fury doesn't hit very hard at all, not by itself, and it does overload. But what you're looking at from Ice Fury is all this Frost Shock damage. I never thought I would see the day that Elemental would be using Frost Shock again in a PvE situation other than kiting, and it worked out well. But you can see I only ended up using the artifact once. I should have used it again right around this area, but it's kind of hard to end up remembering. It's going to be one of those definite, you know, things I end up reminding myself about. But during that period, you can see where Lightning Bolt just kind of took off in damage. This was a lust period, but that's the 3 casts that you would end up seeing from Lightning Bolt, and it's an alright amount of damage. It's not that great. I think the artifact's going to work better in like a chain lightning situation. And let me go ahead and swap this. We're going to switch over to Rock Mora, which is, as you can see, he did not last very long at all. We had some pretty insane damage that was going on. But you've got Frost Shock yet again in the top. Really strong damage coming out of that. Lava Burst a little higher. The Elemental way up on the bars because, well, to be quite honest, he's a trooper, guys. He's doing some insane amount of damage. And it's not so much... I'm trying to see if I can find it up here. Fire Blast right there. So... not finding it on the meter. But anyways, guys, he does a lot of damage right up front. Outside of that, the longer this ends up going, it's not going to work. And if you time it with an actual lusting period, kind of like we did, starting off at the bat, minute and 5, this thing did not go on very long. Earth Shock quite high, building a lot of Maelstrom. Lightning Bolt, again, 18 casts on that one because we didn't get as many procs, and it was a short fight, so we ended up getting more Lightning Bolts than we did anything else. Less Flame Shocks, or less Frost Shocks, but as you can see, 8 casts. Got a couple of those to where they were critting and they were doing, you know, the damage is there. And again, you're looking at some very, very high numbers coming out of this new play with Ice Fury. And it's also quite fun. So if you enjoy something a little bit new, if you played Elemental Shaman before and you're not sure about it, this is sick, guys. Or you can make it basic again and still do some pretty good numbers. This is just taking over by about a 5% margin. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up. So, guys, at this point, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, if you did enjoy yourself, go ahead and smack that like button, subscribe up if you haven't already, and we'll get you the best content available as possible, the best content possible as it comes up. Yeah, I can't really talk today for some damn reason, but here it is. And again, guys, as always, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and thanks for watching.